morning, going along with the mixed sentiment in vegetable oils. Chicago soy oil is up while European rapeseed is down and Malaysian palm oil is mixed. Crude oil is rising by approximately $1 US per barrel due to a tightening market. The Canadian dollar is up 1/4 of a United States cent compared to Thursday's close. High temperatures will be in the low 20 degrees Celsius across the prairies today, with rain in the forecast for southern Manitoba. The November canola contract is unchanged at $725.30 per ton. In the U.S., corn, soybeans, and wheat are all in positive territory. The International Grains Council raised its 2023-24 world corn production estimate by 1 million tons to 1.222 billion, with ending stocks also going up 1 million to 298 million. Higher demand in Brazil and tightening U.S. logistics raised the corn price index by 9%. France Agrimaire reported that the French corn crop was 81% good to excellent, down 1 point from the previous week, but up from 43% 1 year earlier. Its harvest was 6% complete compared to a 10% 5-year average. The December corn contract is up 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $4.76. The IGC lowered its 2023-24 world soybean production forecast by 2 million tons to 396 million, with ending stocks also down 2 million to 62 million. The soybean price index was down 1%. Argentina's government announced that it will not extend its preferential exchange rate soy dollar program, which is set to end on September 30th. Meanwhile, it estimates that 16 million hectares in the country will be seeded for soybeans similar to last year. China imported 9.09 million tons of soybeans in August, down from 9.36 million in August 2022, but beans sourced from Brazil was up 45%. The November soybean contract is up 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $12.97. The IGC reported its 2023-24 world wheat production estimate by 1 million tons to 783 million, with ending stocks up 2 million to 263 million due to lower consumption. Its wheat price index was slightly lower. APK Inform reported that 3 ships were on their way to the port of Odessa in Ukraine to be loaded. On Thursday, a ship carrying 17,600 tons of wheat for Egypt became the first to leave the port since the Black Sea Grain Initiative expired in July. Next month in China, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet to discuss wheat exports. The December Chicago wheat contract is up 3 U.S. cents per bushel at $5.79. The December Kansas City hard red wheat contract is up 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $7.11. The December Minneapolis spring wheat contract is up 1 U.S. cent per bushel at $7.68. That's a look at the ICE futures in U.S. markets for Friday, September 22nd. In Winnipeg for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Adam Pelishati.
Hard work has never come so easy. That's what you'll say when you take on a job with a New Holland all-purpose tractor from Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John. Whether a Workmaster Utility, PowerStar, T5, or T6 tractor, you'll maximize your productivity with exceptional power, convenience, and comfort. Buy now and take advantage of 0% financing for 60 months or cash back on these 45 to 126 PTO horsepower models. Stop in today at Butler Farm Equipment in Fort St. John and see how easy hard work can be. Offer ends September 13th.
The opinions expressed during this show do not represent those of this station. If you've missed any of this show, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Now, an in-depth look at the news and information shaping our community. This is Moose Talks with your host, Doug Craig, on Moose FM.
Good morning and welcome to the show. Later on, we're going to talk with Christopher Young. He's a former Fort St. Johnner who was recently named as the executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra. We'll talk about a bit about his journey to that job in a few minutes. But first, the Trans Alliance Family, Friends, and Youth Society held a peaceful presence in Centennial Park during the anti-SOGI march held on Wednesday. To talk a bit about that presence and the importance of creating safe spaces in school and life for 2SLGBTQIA plus people in our community, we're joined now by the president of TAFFY, Paige Turrtel. Paige, welcome back to Moose Talks.
Hi, Dom. It's always a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I of course wish it was under better circumstances, but let's talk about the peaceful protest. We were talking off air. You clearly had heard that there might be this protest happening in Fort St. John, the anti-SOGI one anyway, some weeks ago. What kind of led to your decision to how you were going to respond to it?
Members of TAFFY, we all had a board meeting and sat down and decided that really there should be at least somebody there to show the 2S LGBTQIA plus community that there's somebody standing up for them. I know sometimes it's hard for people to come out to these sort of events, but we wanted to have that peaceful presence. So like I said, just let them know somebody in this town is standing up for them in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the positivity is really the big part of it. I think even in the kind of the release you sent out the day before, you said we want to be there to answer questions, to stand up, as you said, but to make this, if somebody is curious or, just wants to talk to us, we'll talk to them, right? What was kind of the response you saw from people who came in support, from people who showed up, who were part of the march even and spoke to you? What kind of happened?
On our side, it was just a lot of positivity. We really only had a few people come up to talk to us, and for the most part, they were just fairly closed-minded and wanted to say what they had to say their piece, and they didn't want to have a back-and-forth discussion, which is kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
But we tried.
Yeah. Was that kind of what you expected was going to happen?
Kind of, definitely. I mean, we want to think the best of things and hope that people have open minds, but the nature of the beast in this sort of situation, there are lots of people out there who don't have that open mind, and they're very set in their ways.
And I mean, in a way, that's really what the education that is going on in the schools that talks about SOGI at all is really about opening minds and sort of making people, not making them, but hopefully having kids be more accepting of people who aren't like them, and accepting of the members of the community who are part of the LGBTQ community, correct? Yep. I guess my next question was the size of the march. I didn't think it was going to be as big as it was, if I can be completely honest. Again, how surprised were you that many people did show up and sort of, with kind of the aftermath and the discussion that's going on, even to this day now on kind of local Facebook groups about what happened and sort of what people are talking about in relation to the anti-SOGI kind of protests that went on?
Truthfully, I wish I could say I was more surprised, but that's pretty much what I expected. In between 100 and 200 people, which isn't massive numbers, but it's a large enough group of people that just are mostly misinformed and don't really have a view that they want to be accepting of some new sorts of things. And it also really confuses me. I've had discussions with people who are saying, oh, why are we introducing pronouns and stuff? But that's not even about SOGI. I have kids in school. Pronouns are taught in between grades 1 and 3 as standard curriculum before SOGI had anything to do with it. That's just part of speech. If some teachers and some people choose to implement a more open approach to how we use them and are more forthcoming with children saying, these are my pronouns, what are yours? I don't see how that's harmful. It's just learning a form of speech about how to describe things to better navigate the world.
What do you make of the idea anyway? Because there was one person that Energeticcity.ca talked to during the protest who was taking part in it and said, this is not that I hate gay people and transgendered people. This is I have a problem with, for a lack of a better word, it being shoved in my face, or however they put it, right? Do you believe that that's actually what was going on there?
I don't.
And it's about more than just what some of these people think is being taught in school.
Like I said, I have school-age children, and I in no way have ever seen it being literally shoved down people's throats. And we're not trying to coerce or indoctrinate children in any way, nor is SOGI. It's all about acceptance and creating that safe space.
And if we can talk about your journey for a bit, we've come quite a way from when you were in school, and this is why it's important, is making those safe spaces in school and in the larger community, right?
Yeah. So my whole belief really is just about giving children that safe space to talk. It's not about forcing beliefs or ideology beyond their understanding down their throat at all, or trying to change their genders or convince them to get surgeries.
Yeah.
Me personally, I knew at a very young age that I was trans, and I was shunned and abused by my family. I wish that I had a teacher or a safe space that wouldn't just out me to my parents because they weren't supportive. I ended up dealing with conversion therapy. I ended up being pushed into psych wards, and eventually I was thrown into foster care and essentially abandoned, which left me in a state where for a good portion of my life, I dealt with substance abuse, self-harm. I was in and out of homelessness for a while. I was in very toxic circles. And it took a long time for me to be able to get out from under that. And one of my big goals with TAFFY is to make sure that, or to try to make sure that no child is put through the same sort of things that I went through. And granted, there are a lot of understanding parents, but there are also some closed-minded ones. Those youth like myself that have or had a situation where they've had nowhere to turn should have that safe place at school to be able to talk. A great deal of time is spent with teachers, and they can be a very positive role model and safe adult to talk to. Taking that away can lead to abusive situations. And granted, not in every situation, but definitely in some. And I really firmly believe that age-appropriate sex education, age-appropriate Canadian history should include topics like the history of marginalized groups. To not have those topics taught in some way is hiding some things that make Canada what it is and setting up some younger folks for potential issues from fear and sex-related topics. I got a little bit of a speech here and I've used parts of it already. I will also say it's okay to question yourself and experiment. It's part of the human experience. We're not expected to have all the answers right off the bat. From hobbies, jobs, clothing style, music taste, food taste, relationships, like so many things, we learn about ourselves and about the world through trying new things and learning new topics. And I know for a fact that all those questions don't begin at 18. They definitely, some children and youth start having those questions sooner than others. And it's okay to look in different places when we're curious, not just to our parents. Life is a journey of self-discovery. That journey starts much sooner than others. We can't put some sort of blanket law in place that bans those individuals' rights to learn in those ways because of a handful of adults who are fearful of it. Making laws where schools out children to potentially abusive parents is definitely not okay. We cannot blanket the situation like that. We need to kind of take things one situation at a time and be understanding of that. And I know it's a really complex topic with lots of pieces to the puzzle. That's kind of the way things go. But our main goal as parents and Canadians should be to provide a safe environment for children and youth to grow and learn inside and outside of the home without fear of bigotry or persecution.
Absolutely. I wanted to try to end on a positive note, or a hopeful note, I suppose. Obviously, TAFFY started now, a year and a half ago? Or are we
almost a year,
there you go.
I think it was a year come July, actually.
Yeah, there you go. And you and the people who started this society were about sort of outreach. And can
Absolutely.
we, as you say, reach out to those people who are in a situation like you were in and make it better for them somehow? So for somebody who's listening right now, if they're a parent, if they're a friend of this person, if they're just an ally, what can they do and how can TAFFY help the people in their lives who might be questioning or are certain that they're transgender and they need help through kind of getting onto the path of the journey to get there?
I would urge those people to reach out to us on Facebook or come out to one of our many events that we do. We try to hold them monthly or at least once every other month. We slow down a little bit at the beginning of the school year because we understand everybody's really busy right now. But definitely don't shut the door in those situations. If people are curious, if parents are curious, be open-minded. Come out and talk to us. we may be able to point you in the right direction, either with resources or with just certain conversations. Maybe there's something you don't understand. Maybe your child has something they want to say to you, but they don't know how. They don't have the language yet. And that's a big thing about this too, is giving children the tools and the language to be able to express themselves properly. So please come out and talk to us.
All right. Well, Paige, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to me today. Thank you so much for coming on Moose Talks again.
Thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. That's Paige Turrtel, the president of the Trans Alliance Family, Friends, and Youth Society. We'll be right back to talk to Christopher Young, the new executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, right after this on Moose Talks. Do you have some good news you'd like to share with the community? We here at Moose FM want to share your positivity every weekday. Whether you're fundraising for the SPCA or saw someone doing a good deed in the community, we want to hear from you. Email us at reception@moosefm.ca and we'll share your good news right after the 7:30 a.m. news and on our Facebook pages. Good news is brought to you by Frontier Law.
What do you want to give, boys? I'm going to give 300.
Mark your calendars. Rhythm Auction invites you to their October 14th auction at their Mile 54 location. Why not turn your assets into cash? With unlimited bidding on a very limited time, Rhythm Auction is now accepting equipment, vehicles, trailers, large pallet items, and more. Call Aaron to book your assets today. 250-261-4198 or visit rhythmauctions.com. That's October 14th. Next auction at Mile 54 off the Alaska Highway.
Windsor, Windsor, see what we have in store. Windsor, Windsor, we have what you need and more. Decorate, renovate, don't wait, we're great. Windsor is the place to go.
Hi, Richard here from Windsor Plywood, where our Dulux Buy One Get One paint sale is on now until September 25th.
Windsor, Windsor, the experts you need to know.
You know your vehicle works super hard for you. It's there for taking the kids to school and even for those off-road adventures. Make your own trails. So how about giving it a break with Moose FM's Dirtiest Vehicle Contest? To enter, just head over to moosefm.ca/win and try your luck at winning a $100 gift card for Rudy's Highway Truck and Car Wash. Don't worry, we'll be picking a new winner at the end of each month. Join in on Moose FM's Dirtiest Vehicle Contest, all thanks to our friends at Rudy's Highway Truck and Car Wash.
Windows, window coverings, windshields. At Alpine Glass Windows and Doors, we do it all. Class up your room with powered smart blinds from Hunter Douglas, or come see our selection of Hunter Douglas roller shades, fabrics, and cellular shades. Need to update your windows and doors? Alpine Glass is your source for Geldwin and Plygem windows and doors. Plus, when it comes to windshield repairs and replacements, we handle ICBC claims for you. To learn more, visit alpinewindows.ca or give us a call at 250-785-6409.
You're shopping around for an automobile.
Come see Ford City Chrysler.
You're trying to find the very best deal.
Looking for a fine pre-owned vehicle? Ford City Chrysler has cars, trucks, minivans, and SUVs, four-wheel drive pickups, and diesels too. Many with remaining factory warranty. And they're all quality inspected and ready to go. At Ford City Chrysler, you're buying from your hometown dealer. No pressure, no hassles, just honesty and integrity. Only at Ford City Chrysler. Only in Fort St. John.
Watch this show live on Facebook or download the podcast at Energeticcity.ca.
Welcome back to the show. Well, my next guest has had an interesting musical journey, and they were recently named the executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra. There's not many of those jobs around, so it's a very fascinating thing, and they happen to be from Fort St. John. So joining me now, I believe from Kamloops, is Christopher Young. Christopher, welcome to Moose Talks.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for taking some time with us today. You told me before we got on the air that this is your first concert as executive director is tonight, isn't it?
Yes. We've got Daniel Clark-Bouchard is doing a piano recital in the Laurie Marchand Theatre here in Kelson Hall in the center of Kamloops. And tomorrow night he'll be performing both Rhapsody in Blue by Gershwin and Florence Price's piano concerto, which is very exciting. It's not very often we get a pianist who's so willing to play two concerti on one concert. So.
Awesome. Well, we're going to talk a bit about what your job entails in just a minute, but I thought we'd kind of start with a bit of your musical journey. You're from Fort St. John, so tell us a bit about music. I mean, when did music really kind of enter your life?
The largest part, obviously, was certainly the School District 60 band. Started there in grade 6 when I went to Central School, and grew up through that program with Joe Montgomery, Sandra Gunn, and Todd Gopinash, and the late Rhonda Scott as well. And that the skills and the passion that they instilled in me is something that still drives me to this day.
Mm-hmm. Was there a specific instrument you played, or did you kind of pick up a lot of them?
Well, at that point in time, I was playing a lot, but I am a trumpet player. I still perform as much as I can. I try to do 2 hours a day. It helps keep me sane, even while trying to deal with all the business end of running an orchestra and a music school as well. So
I see. So, tell us a bit about how you ended up in Kamloops. You said you took band kind of from a young age, but when did it become something you wanted to do, like as a career and a job, or be involved in it as a career and a job?
Well, actually, I hadn't really considered it really growing up. Being from Fort St. John, you kind of get this idea that you have to go into the trades a little bit. There's kind of that pressure. And at one point in time, Todd Gopinash pulled me aside and went, "Hey, maybe you should think about going to school for music and see where that takes you." And it was just kind of almost an offhanded comment, but very impactful for me. And I went on to study at the University of Alberta. I got to perform with the Edmonton Symphony Orchestra with the section there. I was freelancing in Edmonton for several years, put on my own operas and ran a brass quintet. And I eventually got to the point where I kind of didn't know what I was doing. I'm recognizing that. And so I went back and did my master's at the University of Leeds in the United Kingdom. And sadly, COVID hit. So I ended up back in Fort St. John. I helped run the curling club for a few months there, and eventually ended up in Vancouver Symphony Orchestra in the VSO School of Music in the marketing department. And as of Monday, I've now been the executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra and the KSO Music School.
Wow. When you say you put on operas, do you mean you were and I don't have the language for this, so I apologize. You were conducting and working with orchestras to put them on. Were you writing them? Were you a producer? What do you mean by that?
So the opera that I put on was actually written by Robert Bradshaw out of the States, and so I produced it, and I also starred in it as a trumpet player. So it actually was a really interesting opera where this title character, Gabriel, is an offstage trumpet, and that is having conversations with the starring soprano. And it's a very interesting exploration of the impact of digital communication on society. And so obviously it's an opera, it's tragic, but it was really interesting because this conversation, you only hear one side of it, and you hear the music as the other side. So it's always up to interpretation about who Gabriel really is, whether it's the soprano psyche, her conscience, or somebody who she's talking to online.
Fascinating. Well, if you can then for us now, describe exactly what your role as executive director is in the context of this symphony orchestra. You kind of already mentioned you run the business side of things a bit, but what does that mean, and what's your part in sort of your interaction with the symphony orchestra, I suppose, is the best way to put it.
So a lot of it is, obviously day-to-day of running a business, right?
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people kind of really understand that, right? Obviously looking at budgets and the finances, making sure that we are able to continue to put on the best art possible for the community. But obviously we're also looking at the artistic side of things, right? So I work with the music director, in this case, a fabulous conductor, Dina Gilbert, who is based out of Montreal and travels here to Kamloops. And so I work with her to create the season and program that out. And then I also work with programming the music school, so making sure that we have an appropriate early childhood music education program, making sure that we have, fill in those gaps within the music education sphere of the community, and finding ways that we can elevate the art form and, build that pride and sense of community across the region.
Now, as I understand it, I think you just said you've kind of gotten into this role. So does that mean you've sort of inherited what the season ahead is already kind of looking at, and then therefore next season it'll kind of be like, when you start to think towards that, you'll start to put your mark on sort of the creative decisions a bit more than this season's kind of lineup anyway?
Yes, certainly. Yeah, no, totally. Everything we usually plan at least 2 years in advance.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I'm even going to be trying to push that even further to up to 5 years, so that we can start to look at some great programming. The Kamloops Symphony is coming up on its 50th anniversary here in a few years, so we want to make sure that that's going to be a fantastic splash for the community. And we are looking for ways that we can make that great. And obviously that takes time to make some of those larger events happen. Obviously, this current season, I'm making sure that, we have as many people in the concert hall as possible, making sure that everybody knows about the orchestra and the work that we do. So that's, for me, most of my work this year, and making sure that we're building up our donors and our sponsors and making sure they're very much represented across the season. And then also looking at our future seasons and how that will look. And certainly doing that in collaboration with our artistic team here. So.
Wonderful. Well, Christopher, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to chat with me about this, and good luck with your first show tonight and for kind of everything coming for you, the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra. Thanks for doing this.
Of course, thank you very much. Glad to be able to talk with you and the city of Fort St. John.
Well, you're very welcome. We're very glad to have you. That's Christopher Young, the executive director of the Kamloops Symphony Orchestra, who called us today from Kamloops. We'll be right back to wrap things up on Moose Talks right after this. Join us for an unforgettable evening with Kudapira on Wednesday, October 4th at 7:30 p.m. This electrifying group will set the North Peace Cultural Centre stage alight with their distinctive fusion of Zimbabwean, West African, and Afro-Cuban music. Not just any musicians, they are Vancouver's finest percussionists, immersing themselves in the proper techniques and rhythms from the countries of origin for each instrument. Get your tickets now, available at the North Peace Cultural Centre box office or online at npcc.bc.ca.
Mobil One Lube Express in Fort St. John is proud to serve this amazing community and proud to support our oil and gas industries.
See Mobil One Lube Express for oil changes, transmission fluid changes, touchless car wash, and more. Mobil One Lube Express,
a proud supporter of the oil and gas industries.
When a loved one passes away, it's understandably a difficult time, so let the caring and compassionate team at the Flower Hut help. Their staff can show you their beautiful selection of flowers for funeral service bouquets, casket sprays, photo and urn tributes, floral baskets, sympathy bouquets, full-service floral collections, and more. The Flower Hut will even work directly with the funeral home to ensure delivery is timely and accurate. The Flower Hut, locally owned on 100th Street. Visit flowerhutflorist.com.
100.1 Moose FM is giving you the chance to win cold, hard cash. The Moose Money Mania contest will give one lucky listener $500 cash, and all you have to do is download our app to win. Once the app is downloaded, click the banner, fill out your information, and wait for us to pull a winner on September 29. The only way to enter this contest is through our app. So download it now and enter our Moose Money Mania. Brought to you by The Flower Hut, Rhythm Auctions, Can Have Today, Brad's Furniture and Appliances, MLA Dan Davies with the BC United Party, and 100.1 Moose FM. Want to take a gamble on something delicious? You can spin the new and appetizing Moose Eats Wheel and win $25 to your favorite local spots. Spin and try to win $25 to Cass's Kitchen, Red Barn Cafe and Catering, Brown's Craft House, Aw Delicious, and KFC.
You're shopping around for an automobile.
Come see Ford City Chrysler.
You're trying to find the very best deal.
Looking for a fine pre-owned vehicle? Ford City Chrysler has cars, trucks, minivans, and SUVs, four-wheel drive pickups, and diesels too. Many with remaining factory warranty. And they're all quality inspected and ready to go. At Ford City Chrysler, you're buying from your hometown dealer. No pressure, no hassles, just honesty and integrity. Only at Ford City Chrysler. Only in Fort St. John.
Moose Country weather.
It's going to be beautiful this Friday, a high of 21, sunny skies throughout the day. Later tonight, 7 degrees, clear skies. Tomorrow, it's going to be a great sunny Saturday with a high of 20 degrees. And on Sunday, 13 degrees under cloudy skies.
Our community first. This is Moose Talks with Dub Craig on Moose FM.
My thanks to our guests Paige Turrtel and Christopher Young for joining us today. If you'd like to hear this episode again, or if you'd like to hear old episodes of Moose Talks, make sure you check out the Energeticcity.ca podcast page. You'll find past episodes of this show there, along with all episodes of Secrets of the North, Before the Peace, and Voices of the Peace archived for your listening pleasure. Especially Sunday when it's cloudy and getting a little colder, nothing quite like snuggling up to a good podcast. You can take some time to listen to excellent locally produced podcasts today, again, over at energeticcity.ca/podcasts. That's our show. Jordan Prentice and Trey Lopashinsky are the producers of Moose Talks. I'm Dub Craig. Be well.
Join us next Friday at 10 a.m. for another episode of Moose Talks, a weekly talk show about Fort St. John and the North Peace.